Should you buy or skip the new Insta360 GO 3S? Let's get into it. The GO 3S is the latest tiny action camera in the Insta360 GO lineup, and with all the new upgrades and features it packs in, it might as well be called the GO 4. Speaking of 4K recording is the big new feature this year, along with support for higher frame rates, better waterproofing, and some other cool tech, all for the same starting price. The GO 3S continues to be one of the best action cameras that you can buy in 2024, and personally, one of my favorites. Its modular magnetic design allows it to be so much more than just a traditional camera or even pocket camera, but it also introduces a few limitations that you should keep in mind before picking one up.
Starting things off, the first reason to buy the GO 3S is that it's arguably one of the biggest upgrades in the GO lineup ever. The Insta360 GO 3S can now shoot 4K video up to 30 frames per second, which is a big step up over the 2.7K 30 frames per second maximum that the GO 3 offered. The GO 3S also features a higher 120 megabits per second bitrate versus 80 megabits per second on the GO 3, giving your footage noticeably more sharpness and detail. With that bump in quality, the GO 3S feels more capable as a travel pocket camera rather than just an ordinary action camera. So from walking around, doing time lapses and time shift, which is really cool and you should try it out, everything looks super clean and punchy without it ever feeling overdone and overprocessed. But what about slow motion? The GO 3S can now shoot 1080p at 200 frames per second versus 120 frames per second on the GO 3. 240 frames per second would have been great here, but at least we can now do 8 times slow motion when it's conformed to 24 frame per second timeline. While the GO 3S does have its share of quirks, which we'll get into, what makes it so special is that you can pretty much stick or mount it anywhere.
Trying to find all the things that are magnetic just to see what I can stick this to now.
Its small size, magnetic design, and its support for several different mounting options means a lot of really cool things that you can do with this.
And without any additional gear, I've got my own tripod set up on basically any surface.
And as they like to call it, the 3S is a truly no-hands camera. It unlocks a new way of filming unique angles, which, aside from being really fun, also helps you be more creative with your storytelling, something not a lot of cameras help you do.
And because of how small and inconspicuous this is, it makes it really easy to record in areas where you don't want to draw a lot of attention to yourself. Combine that with this really good built-in microphone, and you have a really awesome setup. But while it's not going to be as smooth as something like the Osmo Pocket 3 that we've been filming this video on, for something this small, you really can't beat it.
Now, if that wasn't enough, also new for this year, the GO 3S is Insta360's first camera to work with Apple Find My. This is easily the most underrated feature for any gadget, camera, or otherwise. The GO 3S is small and easy enough to misplace as is, and as someone who is always switching bags or leaving things behind, being able to keep tabs on the GO 3S is awesome. And while this doesn't make it theft-proof, this is also a great way to keep the camera a little bit more secure, especially if you're a solo creator like myself and you like to set the camera up in other locations. That way you can capture those behind the scenes or maybe more candid shots without really ever leaving it behind. A final reason to buy the GO 3S is that it returns with the Action Pod, which was first introduced on the GO 3. It feels a little bit more solid while still offering the same 2.2-inch flip-up display, which is what you'll use for framing your subject, changing all your settings, and it's also the perfect tool for vlogging and taking selfies. It's one of the best displays I've tested on any action camera or small pocket camera. It's the perfect combination of size, brightness, and functionality. My biggest complaint with the GO 2 was how frustrating it is to change your different video modes, settings, not to mention I have to rely on a smartphone to make sure everything looks good. And even though the Hero 12 Black that you've seen a few shots of already has a larger 2.27-inch rear display, its front is only a 1.4-inch. It's not nearly as convenient to use. But as you can imagine, with more moving parts, especially a display like this, it could be another point of failure. So let's actually get into the first reason you may want to skip out on the GO 3S.
As great as the GO 3's small and modular design is, it also introduces some limitations. When detached, the camera itself is IPX8 waterproof, which is good up to 33 feet or 10 meters with its lens guard attached. The pod itself is not waterproof, it's only splash proof, so no taking this by the pool or to the beach. That is unless you buy Insta360's dive case, which is another $60. It's another accessory you need to remember to install, but it does give it a waterproof rating up to 197 feet, which is great. That said, when compared to something like the GoPro Hero 12 Black, which has a waterproof rating of 33 feet and it's built in and doesn't require any additional accessories, it's something worth considering.
The Go 3S also might not be the best choice if you're looking to record nonstop all day long and you don't have time to back up your footage. Just as with its predecessors, including the original Go, the Go 2 I have, the Go 3S still lacks support for external storage. Given its smaller size, it's a little bit more forgivable and understandable, but unlike other action cameras with removable micro SD cards, it does mean you're stuck with whatever capacity you buy from day one. So that either means the 64GB model, which is $399, or 128GB for $429. The 3S isn't available in 32GB like the 3 was, but given how much more storage your 4K clips are now going to need, it makes sense. I also think the extra $30 to upgrade to 128GB is worth the peace of mind knowing you're not going to run out of storage as fast, but let me know what you think about that. Although Insta360 does offer a new quick transfer accessory for another $44, which does feature a micro SD card slot and connects to the Go 3S camera, allowing it to free up its internal storage on the move, it's nowhere near as quick or convenient as simply swapping out for a fresh new micro SD card. And as you can imagine, for a lot of people, this is one of the Go 3S's biggest letdowns. For my next point, I'm going to start this off by saying it's super impressive that Insta360 managed to add 4K to the Go 3S, but maybe this makes me seem a little bit spoiled, it has me craving more. Again, max resolution on the 3S is now 4K 30p, which is a nice jump up, but it's still underwhelming when compared to the likes of the Hero Black 12, which can do a ridiculous 5.3K at 60, 4K at 120, and 2.7K at 240. I love filming at higher frame rates and slowing down my footage later for that buttery smooth look. And while the Go 3S's 1080p at 200 frames per second can get the job done, with some impressive results, it's noticeably less sharp than its 4K video, and it's definitely a step behind most of the competition at this price point.
A final reason you might want to skip on the Insta360 Go 3S is that it doesn't support any external microphones. So if I want to do a nice dynamic shot like this, where I'm walking towards the camera from further away, I need to use something like the DJI wireless mic in order to pick up clean audio, and then I have to sync it later in post, something that you don't normally need to do with a GoPro, for example, as it does support accessories like its USB-C to 3.5mm jack, so you can actually connect your microphones directly into the unit. And even though the Go 3S actually has a really good built-in microphone, it's only really best suited if it's directly on you. Again, you could hold it out and film like you're vlogging like that, and it's still decent, but any further away, and you're gonna wanna wish you had an external microphone like this. So is the Go 3S a buy or skip? For me, it's a strong buy. At $400, it's a really good investment for everything that it helps me capture, and it's one of the most unique cameras that I've ever used. Now, if Insta360 can figure out how to offer higher frame rates in 4K, the Go series is gonna be very hard to compete with. What do you think? Buy or skip? Let us know in the comments. You can follow us everywhere at Tom's Guide for more cool tech, and you can follow me to see what I'm reviewing next. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.